Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. It's a beautiful Monday here in the blistering cold United Kingdom. Man United stun Arsenal at the Emirates, and I couldn't be happier. Chelsea with a big win. City closed the gap to 4 points. There is a mini meltdown in the Arsenal fan base. We're going to get onto that. Is that really helpful? I saw an interesting tweet from Rory Talks Football on that I want to address on the show today, along with Henry. We're talking Arne Slot. Is he about to be sacked? Thomas Frank, boos and jeers and chants by the Spurs fans at the end of the game against Burnley. All that to go through, but listen, sit down, grab a drink, grab some popcorn, whatever you like to snack on. Hit that like button for us. Mr. Wright. Henry, right. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Fantastic day yesterday. Football won it. Aston Villa's big win at St James's Park, and then United doing United things. I thought you guys were fantastic. I thought two of the goals were. I don't think Dorgu will hit a better strike in a long time. Saturday was very interesting. City won, but weren't convincing, and we couldn't beat Burnley. So yeah, great week of Premier League football. It's just a shame there's no football on tomorrow. It's all the Champions League games again are on one day. Like the schedule in the last couple of months has been poor, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I get why. The only reason I defend them slightly is they have to do this because they have to guard against cheating. But for instance, if half the teams played Wednesday, everyone playing on Tuesday, all the teams on Wednesday would know what they needed. And you might find a team that's secure in the top 8 because of the Tuesday results plays out a draw on purpose to knock another team out they dislike or whatever else. So they have to kick off at the same time to stop that, which I understand. And I get, but this weekend was the first weekend of really good scheduling where the games are nicely spread over Saturday and Sunday, so you could actually enjoy the games if you get where I'm coming from, rather than 3 or 4 matches at 3 o'clock and then a 5:30 and an 8 o'clock. Where I always feel a little bit rushed. I always feel I don't get enough time to digest. And even before I made content, like the boys would be round and you'd watch a game and you'd want to have a bit of a chat about it. You'd want to listen to the interviews from the managers. That for me was, well, of course, it's all part of the football experience because that's why they put it on the television for you to experience it. So when it's all crammed together, it's very annoying. But you're right; it was an amazing weekend. And look, we'll start with Manchester United because what did you make of us? Because 2 games under Carrick, 2 wins, 2 performances where I felt we warranted the win as well, and food for thought for everybody saying lucky. 2 games in a row, not a single chance created against us in open play.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't see. I don't agree with anyone saying you were lucky. I thought you were very, very good yesterday. First 20 minutes, Arsenal looked good, and you kind of sat quite deep in a low block. And then after that, from about the 20th minute onwards, you come out, you started playing a bit more, getting some possession around the back, getting into midfield. I thought Kobe Mainoo has been a bit of a difference to you the last couple of games. You're very, very dangerous on the counter-attack, just like you were against Man City. Brian Mbeumo and Cunha is what you pay the big bucks for because they were the difference makers yesterday. I also thought, the substitutions that Carrick made were very, going for the win. Even when Arsenal scored, they looked vulnerable. You exploited that. Other than from corners, you didn't really look like you were out of control in the game. I thought, Brian Mbeumo took the first goal very, very well. He pounced on a mistake, took it around David Ray nicely, good finish. Like I said, Dorgu's strike was unbelievable. And Cunha, when you've got a player like that on the bench and you've got Benjamin Sesko on the bench, if you get top 4 and have a decent window, you're not actually a bad side. I think the reaction for whenever you lose, because it's Man United, is always going to be slightly over the top, like it is with pretty much every fan base at the moment. But I thought Carrick deserves huge praise. I do think United fans need to keep, their boots on the floor, the right saying? Feet on the floor?
Feet on the ground.
Feet on the ground, sorry. Yeah, I do think you need to keep your feet on the ground. Matey boy he's 2 wins away from 3 wins away from getting his haircut.
You're so Essex, man. You got to keep your boots on the floor.
You know what I meant straight away, though. So that's good. Yeah, I thought you did very, very well, and I think Mark Carrick should be, very proud of the team. What I will say is you have to beat Fulham now. If you have these two great results because of you're up against teams that are going to come out and play against you, and then you play a low block and at home and you don't get the 3 points, you'll be back to the meltdowns. But equally, I think you've got us, West Ham, and Fulham. Fulham, aren't fantastic away. They're very good at home. They're not great away. We're in turmoil right now. And West Ham, okay, have won the last 2, but you should beat them. Right now you look like as Gary Neville would say, you look like you found your DNA again. Like you look like yesterday's a lot to take. Like I think Mark Carrick and the team and the board and the fan base should be very, very happy with that result. But it's something now to build on. You've had a very up and down season with a manager that I thought should have been sacked a long, long time ago. They stuck by him. You got rid of him, and no one can say to me there's no such thing as a new manager bounce. Because Mark Carrick hasn't tactically changed things. He's just made things more very, very simple. A back four that's like Gary Neville said on the post-match podcast on Sky Sports. You've been very aggressive. I think that centre-back partnership. I know Yoro hasn't played the last 2 games. But I think that centre-back partnership is what Carrick will rely on, the experienced heads. I thought Dallo has been very, very good in the back four, putting Dorgu as an actual left winger. Like this isn't, what Carrick's done isn't rocket science. He's just gone back to basics and what he knows. And so far, you've been very, very good under Carrick.
New manager bounce is a real thing. I'm not carried away in either direction. So I've seen a lot of United fans consistently sticking it to Amorim, and then you get kind of Amorim's supporters going, just focus on the games. Why are you focusing on him? Yet they would have been the people if we'd have lost these games saying, I thought you said it was Amorim. But both, like I've already said, I was never with the inners at any point, and I was never with the outers. I don't side with those weirdos. And I'll tell you as to why. Because there is a new manager bounce. And I'm hearing people go, oh, the squad. Terry, you said the squad was average to good. Look what we're doing. Still think it's average to good. But what I also stated is a competent coach could get this squad winning 55 to 60% of our games. And look, to win these 2 games back to back is dreamland for us with the 2.5 years we've had in terms of performances. But there are many trials and tribulations along the way. There'll be time where there's injuries. There'll be time where there's 2 games in a week. There'll be times where we're up against low blocks and you've got to do something different. So I'm not going to get carried away in either direction. It's great to have Kobbie Mainoo back on the pitch, playing very well in these last 2 games. It's fantastic to have Bruno Fernandes back in his natural position where he is at his best. Continuity at the back. But even within how we play, there's loads of times if people just go back and watch it where we dropped into a back 5 in the match. I know we went to a back 5 as in the shape after Cunha scored his goal. But if people go back and watch the first half, there was many a time where we sat in a back 5. And I said this the whole time under Ruben Amorim. Everyone's got to stop fixating on the shape and what the instructions are for the players in and out of possession is more important, and putting players in their natural positions. I still think Ruben Amorim could have been more successful if Mainoo was starting games, if Bruno was in a 10 position. As an example, I feel that if he didn't keep changing centre backs so regularly, in not even during games, but one week this is the 3, the next week is a different 3, the next week another 3, the week after that another 3. Create some continuity as an example. Michael Carrick's come in, and it has been a masterclass in coaching, because I think some coaches galaxy brain things and they overthink and they try and make things too complicated. It's why sometimes when players say, oh, it's so lovely now at training, and they go, what's different? And they go, sometimes they struggle to answer because they don't want to be disrespectful to the previous manager. Other times they struggle to answer because it's a bit like someone saying, can you explain how you breathe? You're like, you kind of go in and out. It sounds really basic, right? We don't know. Maybe we as laymen can't explain it. And even though players play the game, sometimes it's hard to explain. But we've gone back to basics. People are in their natural positions and the players love it. And what they are doing is working harder. If you actually look at the amount of ground we're covering, and this is where I get annoyed at the Amorim outers. Terry, you said the players weren't putting a shift in. Told you they were. Yeah, but we've covered more ground in the last 2 games than on average in our previous matches. So again, it's 2 things are right here at the same time. Amorim wasn't a good enough coach. The players have also put in more effort, and sometimes those 2 things are combined. But all that nonsense aside, because United always get hijacked by that crap. For me, super proud of the team. Love the start. If Carrick wants his job on a full-time basis, he's had the best possible start. now go and beat Fulham, now go and beat Spurs, then go away and beat West Ham. Win your first 5 games, get matey boy's haircut, which is really important, but do it by being the better team. Because that's, for me, when the debate should start. I don't think we should be debating Carrick in or out now. It's 2 games. It's too early. It's a distraction. What we should be looking at is the games. Let's enjoy the moment, because we've had a lot of bad weekends and a lot of bad times as a club. But overall, I'm just so impressed with how we did it. And yeah, look, the world is, I have to be honest with you, when Dorgu scored his goal, I was on the phone to KJ I text KJ, and I was like, listen, I'm so desperate to win the game now more than ever. He's like, why more than ever? So when you score a goal like that, if it isn't on the winning team, it gets forgotten. Or unless you got to get something positive out of the game. For instance, David Bentley's goal against Arsenal, you would not remember that if you'd have gone on to lose that game 4-1. Nobody would talk, because you got a draw last minute and it was dramatic. People kind of talk about it still. For that goal of Dorgu's to not be remembered because we went on to lose 3-2 would be a travesty to football. Not that Gooners would care. They don't need to. But I think for United fans especially, I had that same feeling when Rooney scored that overhead kick against City. I was like, oh, we've got to win now. Otherwise, imagine you go on to lose that game 3-2. That overhead kick gets forgotten. One of the best goals I've ever seen from a Man United player in an Arsenal game. But it wasn't just a strike. It was the play with Bruno Fernandes. And that, for me, has been the most impressive thing Carrick has brought back into this team in the 2 games. Loads of fast, one-touch, intricate passing, nice triangles. We were not doing that under Ruben. That, for me, is the biggest difference. And it's causing teams problems. And everybody looks more confident on the ball. So absolutely loving it. Viewers, give us your thoughts and opinions below. On Arsenal, what do you make of their situation? Because I feel there's a percentage of Arsenal fans who have been waiting in the wings, waiting in the shadows for this defeat. And they've come out, and it is all, excuse the pun, but it's all guns blazing. Sack him now. It's January, so sell Odegaard. Saka shouldn't ever play again. All the new signings were actually bad, although they praised them in the summer. Other than Gyökeres, they seem to all defend Gyökeres, which I find interesting, but there we go. And even the Arsenal fans who still believe there is this element of it ain't about us. We're not the ones who have to be positive. The players have to break this. Because I saw Rory Talks Football tweet something, and I thought it was very interesting, because I don't think it was at me, but I spoke about this yesterday, and he basically said, and I don't know if I bookmarked it, so I'm probably not going to see it now, but he basically said, I'm going to find what he said, because I think it's important, because I want to get your take on where they go from here. He said, here it is. It goes, nervous performances create nervous atmospheres, which create nervous performances, and so on. It's on the elite sportsman to break the cycle. So his view is, it isn't about the fans not being nervous or negative or frustrated. It's about the players delivering. What's your view on that? And where do Arsenal go from here?
Yeah, well, I think he's right. I think the players have to deliver now. Take nothing away from Manchester United. They were excellent. But Arsenal shouldn't be losing that game. They shouldn't have drawn to Nottingham Forest, and they shouldn't have drawn to Liverpool. When you look at how good in quality their squad is, and you look at how good they have been at home this season, United winning was a huge shock, but United deserved it. And it's not like Arsenal went down fighting. Their press wasn't, as good as it normally is. Big players in the team had poor performances. Zubimendi wasn't great. Saka can't seem to, score for love nor money at the moment. I don't think he should have started with Gabriel Jesus. I think Gyökeres should have started that game, because he would have given Maguire and Martinez more to think about. What I will say is if Arsenal do not get the right result against Leeds, which Ellen Road is a tough place to go, and if Leeds United win tonight, at the moment they're being dragged back into the relegation fight, because Forest won, West Ham won. If they don't get the right result tonight, Leeds, that game on Saturday is massive, and Man City will already know the result by the time they play Spurs. But it's 3 games now where Arsenal haven't been at the races. There was no urgency in their play. There was no one-touch pass and move, quick tempo combinations, passing through the lines. Odegaard's getting literally dragged through the mud. I think Odegaard deserves to be criticised, but maybe not to this extreme. He hasn't been good for a number of games now. I don't know if you saw the Sky Sports stat in terms of their forward line I think Saka's now 13 games without a goal. Trossard's
Yeah,
got
I have
one
seen
goal in
that.
his last 11. Like, that necessarily may not be a quality issue, could be a coaching issue in terms of the system. But I like the fact they're bringing all these numbers out now after the fact that Arsenal lose the game. When Arsenal beat or won games recently, and they were, Saka had one goal in his last 9 games. No one was talking about this, because when they win games, it's all part of the plan. Arsenal have got winnable games. I think they've got Sunderland at home. I think they've got Leeds United away. The Karatalmati game, it would have been better for Arsenal fans if that game on Wednesday meant something. Because beating them at the moment, they're the worst team in the Champions League. It doesn't really mean anything. You expect Arteta to make. I think he'll make 8 or 9 changes. I think the only player, one of the centre back pairing will play Gabriel Saliba. But everyone else should be rested and rotated for Leeds.
I agree, but having a midweek game like this is always great. And I'm thinking back to when my team was good, right? When Man United were a good team. I say that, I mean a good team in the sense of challenging for league titles. When we had a bad result on a Saturday or a Sunday, I always used to look and go, right, who we got midweek? League Cup game, Champions League, right? Who can we beat? Even if it was it's never meaningless to win a Champions League game in the earlier stages, but sometimes they're dead rubbers. Like this game is essentially a dead rubber, but they're also really good games to shake the cobwebs off. They're really good games to go out there, slap a team up, play well, and you go right back to winning ways. The problem United have had this year up until the last few weeks is we'll have a bad result on a Saturday and you go, we don't play for 10 days, and you carry that defeat around with you, which I think is always difficult. What I will say about Arsenal, I saw the stat that you put out. I saw Sky shared it where it goes about their forwards, and this is where I feel Arsenal fans have got to be careful. So I disagree with Rory. And when I say I disagree with Rory, I understand where he's coming from. I understand, I see what he means. He wants the players to break the cycle, go and win 2 or 3 tough games, put us 11 points clear, help us get rid of the nerves. I can see the logic. I'm not saying it's illogical or wrong. What I am saying is not my approach. I wouldn't do it that way. I view it, and maybe it's just the way I view the world, and therefore football. I'm a Man United supporter, so my job is to support them. Sometimes that entails constructive criticism. Sometimes that entails blind faith, and it's getting those two things right at the right time. If I can imagine being a team leader at work, and you've got someone who's really good at sales, but they always struggle to land that big one. And they're really close. They're getting really close to landing the biggest deal they've ever had. Imagine you standing over their shoulder, nervously watching them prepare their pitch, turning up for their pitch. But they can see your nervousness and, he's going to mess it up. You're probably going to put that person off. Now, I know that's different because you're their actual manager and you're not like a supporter of them. But imagine your family that are your support network are also, are you sure you're not going to bottle it again? Are you sure you're not going to go wrong? Your wife's in a bad mood in the morning. Why are you in a bad mood? Oh, because you always mess these deals up. I look at it through everything through that type of lens when it comes to sport, business, whatever it may be. Sometimes what you need is just, even if you're thinking you're going to throw it away, what sometimes people need is you're going to be absolutely okay. Even if you don't meet, we've all said it to somebody, you're going to be fine. Inside you're going, I'm really worried about them. But there's a time and a place to say that. And I think right now, watching Arsenal, the last 3 Premier League games, you can see the nerves creeping in. There is this element of they're going from one extreme to the other. They're starting like a freight train and using a lot of energy up negatively because we've got to do it. Then I think they're being told at halftime, calm down, guys. You're a really good team. And they're calming down too much and they're coming out too relaxed, and the second halves are not starting very well. They're having a wobble. This is an absolute fact. They are. It's there for us all to see. The manager's got to find a solution. He is the most important person in this. He has to find a way because in the Champions League they just went away to the San Siro and slapped in a Milan 3-1. This is a very good Arsenal team. There's no doubt about it in my mind. What the Arsenal fans have got to realize is that the mainstream media and rivals around. I saw Tans, who's a Spurs fan. She's come on the terrace back in the day. She tweeted something yesterday, and she said it. She went, basically saying, I didn't realize how hated Arsenal were, and how everybody wants them to lose. There are Liverpool fans celebrating Man United winning a game because Arsenal lost, and Arsenal supporters have got to take stock in this. They've got to take stock in this and go, hang on, everyone wants us to foul. The media now, as you say, putting these stats out now. If they'd have won that game 3-2, you wouldn't see these. Equally, no one's talking about Šeško being on the bench for Man United. No one's going, how comes Mount hasn't played in 2 days? Nobody's going on about anything. There were some bad moments in the game.
Because you won the game.
Because you won the game, no one cares. And I don't believe in that kind of analysis in either direction. I try to be balanced across the board. So Arsenal fans have got to realise, are people putting these stats out? Are the Arteta outers saying what they're saying? Are rivals going in on us because they truly think we're really, really, really bad? Or are they trying to do everything they can to unsettle the players, unnerve the manager, and make you guys have an internal fight, a civil war to blow it all up? For me, I think it's more the latter. Because I get, Terry, look at these stats. You say I should be scared of them. You are scared of them. That's why you're reacting the way you are. You are petrified of Arsenal winning the league. People always get confused. I'm not saying you're literally scared of them every day, shaking under your boots, they're going to batter you 8-0. But you're scared of them winning because you know they're a good team. This is where I think Arsenal fans have to do the opposite of what Rory has said, with all due respect to Rory. And I think arms around the shoulder, chin up, son, wipe your mouths and move on. You can do this. I think they need that. Coupled with, but work your bollocks off. Don't give up. Keep trying. And the best sporting quote I ever heard was from my Team GB coach, Arthur Green, and it was, don't be careless, but don't be too careful either. And that's what Arsenal have got to do for me right now. But viewers, look, we want to get your take on that. Want to get your views. Want to get your opinions on what is next for Arsenal. I'm not going to ask you about Tottenham today. I'm not, because people can just go back and watch last week's show, if that makes sense. I want to ask you about Liverpool, because big rumours last night, not from Indy, but from some Liverpool kind of in the nose, that he is going to lose his job. He's close to being sacked. I think people are kind of refreshing the timelines regularly this morning to see what's kind of going on. But there's a lot of talk he could lose his job, but they lose 3-2 at the weekend, 2-0 down, terrible defending. They fight their way back into the game just to lose it again from, I think long throws are considered set piece goals. I assume they are. But from another set piece, they concede again. They lose. They now sit 6th in the league table. Is it time, in your opinion, for Arne Slot to be sacked and moved on?
The issue is, if you sack him at this point in the season, like, would Xabi Alonso want to come in January? A lot of people say yes. Would Xavi Hernandez or Nagelsmann or any manager at this point want to come in to a dressing room that has just sacked the manager that won the league last year? Look, there's no doubt that he's under immense pressure, and there is no doubt Liverpool are massively underperforming. I thought Bournemouth was very, very good. I thought Senesi and Jimenez and that back line for Bournemouth dug in. You know, they rolled the dice. Evan Nilsson's goal was very good. Krupi Jr., again, very, very good. And they stole it at the death. For Liverpool, it's a very weird unbeaten run because they didn't win too many games. They were getting draws against Leeds twice and Burnley. I don't get why TK's on the bench, to be honest with you. I don't really get why Cody Gakpo starts, and think Cody Gakpo should have been on the bench. You know, but for Liverpool, at this moment in time, none of their leaders are really stepping up. Yeah, Van Dijk's at this moment, he had a howler. Let's call it for what it is. That one of the goals that they scored, I don't know what he's doing there. But Liverpool are one of these teams where majority of the time their fans and the club get behind the manager through quote unquote thick and thin. But you kind of see the tide turning after that result. A lot of people switched, saying, hang on, we need to get rid. I just don't know. If you are going to go after Xabi Alonso, fine, but I don't think he'll come into the summer. Just my opinion. I think it's a big gamble for him to come in, because if it doesn't work immediately, you know, and they don't get top four, which at this moment in time, a lot of people would say United are probably going to get fourth because Liverpool are still in the Champions League, and you know the likelihood is due to their their heritage in the competition, they could quite easily make the quarters or something like, or maybe even the semis if they get a decent draw. And if Liverpool don't make the top 4 with Xabi Alonso coming in, it'd be disastrous. So I think it's easier for them to keep Slot until the end of the season and then bring in Alonso because he looks like he's the front man for the job, and do it that way. But what's really, really interesting is Liverpool normally go down fighting, and they completely gave up in that game. Like, I mean, some of the defending. I mean, that I don't want to just pick on Van Dijk, but that moment is where your captain, your leader, has to step up, and I don't know what he's doing there. Completely messes it up. But yeah, Liverpool are under huge pressure, mate. And I don't know who they've got next in the league, but I don't see them bouncing back straight away from the defeat against Bournemouth. They've got Carrick, which is a decent tie, but then they've got Newcastle. And Newcastle are one of these teams at the moment. I mean, I don't know if you watched their game, but they were toothless against Villa, up front. But they can quite easily go and beat Liverpool.
No, it's such a. I love the league this year because anyone can beat anyone, and it reminds me of the late 90s. It reminds me of the 2000s, where even though you had the strongest teams that were doing very well in Europe, and again, our teams are all doing very well in Europe, the league was strong, and I think that's also been forgotten. In not defending Slot, I'm not defending Arteta, I'm not defending any of the managers that are not winning. You have to be really good, and because there's so many teams that can beat you. You look kind of Palace have kind of fallen off a little bit. They sit down in 15th. There's like a confidence issue there, and I get what's going on. The manager said he's leaving. Players want to go, but you know what? If I wouldn't be surprised if like Glasner left tomorrow and a new competent coach comes in. Mateta says he's going to stay to the end of the season. You'd see them go back to being a hard team to beat. But teams are difficult. At the weekend we saw, City won 2-0 against Wolves, but Wolves had their moments. They had their chances in the game. They could have been in it. It's a very difficult league. So it's one of them things where this is where Liverpool got to weigh it up because they might win the Champions League if they keep Arne Slot because they've actually been really good in Europe. There's always that possibility you win a cup competition. The issue that you've got, and I know it's only 2 points. Okay, it's only 2 points, and there's a long way to go. But the problem that you have if you're Liverpool, you lose that game to Newcastle or draw it, and if Chelsea and Man United both win their next games, which is plausible, suddenly you're 5 points away from a top 5 position. I don't know what their game is after that. Then they play Man City, draw to Newcastle and lose to City, but Chelsea and Man United both win their games. Suddenly you're 8 points away from a Champions League position going into the last 10 to 12 games. Again, a team that's is only winning 1/3 of its matches. So you're just in this position where, and Chelsea, I think they're 4 wins from 5 under Liam Rosenior, whether people want to give him stick or not. He's doing a very good job there. And of course, with Man United, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe Man United and Chelsea remain as inconsistent as Liverpool, and it leaves that door open. But I think Liverpool have got to make a definitive decision soon, so the conversations almost stop. Either, no matter what happens, Slot's here to the end of the season, or remove the manager because something's off key with them. Something isn't working. And again, I think it's beyond just certain. I think maybe a player or two have lost their legs, or a player or two they've signed are not good enough. But there's too many issues. It's the same with Tottenham. You just not being coached well enough. Yeah, the weekend was a crazy one, especially with West Ham, Leeds, and Leeds play tonight. A Leeds win tonight will be very interesting for you guys, dragging you nearer down to the bottom. I'd love to see Spurs get relegated. Imagine being champions of Europe and then relegated.
It'd be disastrous, and our fixture run is horrendous. We've got Manchester City, Man United, Newcastle, Arsenal, and Fulham away. And Fulham away, there's probably more chance of us beating City than beating Fulham right now because Fulham have actually been very, very good the last month or so. Harry Wilson's found a lot of decent form, but in terms of us, Fulham have got the 6th best home record in the league. They've only lost 3 games, and I know we've got the 4th best away record, but right now I don't see us beating Fulham. Did you see the deal David Ornstein put out? The Robertson deal's off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it had to be off. The fact they brought him on for Kirkes because Kirkes weren't good enough again, letting him go, it just didn't make any sense for FSG to sanction that. But there we go. Look, I want to thank all the viewers for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the hype button for us too. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Peace.